If you just purchased this mini course, then you probably feel horrible. I advertised it so that people who just got broken up with would get it, and that's kind of what I'm expecting right now. So you probably can't eat or sleep, you probably feel horrible, and that if you could just get that person back, then it would solve all of your problems in the world. So that's all you want to do. Today, we are going to talk about how to get them back. More importantly, we're going to talk about how to make you feel okay being yourself, okay? We're going to try our best to accomplish both of those goals, but I want you to know that the ultimate goal of this mini course and everything I do is to help you feel okay on your own. Because that's the place you can actually get people back. And coming from that place is where you can be happy and stable in a relationship with someone new or your ex. So that's our main goal with this course. A little bit about me, I'm not a therapist at all. I love psychology, but my background is in medicine. So I did pre-med at Brigham Young University, Idaho, and I'm applying for medical school right now. I want to do ophthalmology. The reason I do this is because of my life experience. When I was 20 years old, I got married and I was completely happy in the marriage. I loved it. I loved my wife and everything seemed to be going great. But after 2.5 years, one day she came home and said that we were getting a divorce. And for about 3 days, I tried everything I could to fix it. I cried, I tried arguing, I tried being nice, and nothing worked. And within like a month, it was final, and I haven't seen her since then. I have no idea where she is. And then after that, what I did is I just decided that I needed to rebuild my life exactly the way it was. I just wanted to get another girl in it and another dog and another home. So I got in another relationship really quickly without doing any grieving, without learning much. And it was great for a while. It works well as a Band-Aid, and I really loved that girl too. And we actually almost got married, but the same problems emerged again because I hadn't worked on anything, which caused that relationship to end too. And that's when I started looking into breakup psychology and relationship psychology and communication tips. And that's when I started making these videos, because my ultimate goal with them is to save you guys the pain that I've been through. I want your relationships to be as happy as they possibly can be. I want you to be as confident in yourself as you possibly can be. If that means that we get your ex back, then awesome. A lot of relationships are worth repairing, and I think that some misunderstandings cause some beautiful relationships to end prematurely, which they shouldn't. So we should fix that. Or whether that means you don't, and you move on and you become a really happy person on your own that's able to have a deeper relationship than you thought possible with someone new. That could happen too. And that's awesome too. So that's our goal with this course. Today we're going to go through some principles on how you can best work on yourself, how you can get them back, with the eventual goal of you moving into a happier place of hope. Again, whether that means you get them back or not, our goal is that you have hope by the end of this and a plan. So I want to start out by talking about the mindset you should have. And the mindset that I believe is healthiest either way is to assume you will get another chance. They've done some studies at colleges which showed that about 65% of exes do reach out again and actually get back together. They repair the relationship. And that's without what we're going to go over today. That's with everyone begging, sending handwritten letters, going and doing grand gestures, and that still gets about 65%. So you have better odds than that. But even if they don't come back, even if you are meant to be with someone else, if you work like this, if you get ready for them to come back, then you're going to win either way. You're going to learn about attachment styles, communication, you're going to go to the gym, make new friends, and anyone who gets to date you in the future, whether that's your ex or someone new, is going to be extremely lucky to have someone who worked through all of these things and learned about themselves. Your brain actually views the situation like this. When humans were hunters and gatherers, being part of the tribe was everything. If you were alone in the woods like this guy, then you'd be in danger from tigers and bears. So we evolved to do everything we could to be able to stay with the tribe and not get abandoned. When they left you, you got abandoned. So your brain is going to release chemicals like adrenaline and hold back serotonin and dopamine, the chemicals that make you happy, So you're motivated to do anything to get back into the tribe or to get back your girlfriend or wife or husband or boyfriend. So that gives you two choices. You can either go crazy with all those chemicals going in your head, which you might be feeling like now, or you can use that motivation to make yourself better, to learn and become healthier and become the best version of yourself, either to attract them back or to be healthier in the future. So first, we have to get the basics out of the way. You have to be eating and sleeping. So here's two ways that I used that made it a little easier for me because I couldn't eat at all. Like I said before, I would throw up if I just had a bite of an apple. The easiest way to get calories in, especially long-lasting calories, are drinking protein shakes. If you can't eat, then try buying either Premier Protein or a different kind of protein shake that you can just slowly drink throughout the day. Smoothies do the same thing. My background is more medical. That's what I want to be as a doctor. So I really like the science of the body. And the easiest way to get better at sleep that you can actually control is controlling when light goes into your eyes. So it controls a serotonin, melatonin cycle. But put it simply, if you go on a walk or get outside really early in the morning, like the first thing you do, and then don't look at your phone at least an hour before you go to bed, you're going to be able to sleep better. So these are two simple things that you can apply today that are going to make it a lot easier for you to do what's coming up. So we're now going to move into the best way you can get your ex or spouse back. And again, to preface this is kind of the motivation we start with. A lot of the time at the beginning, right after a breakup, you feel a lot of anxiety, which makes you think, I have to get this person back no matter what. And you're kind of blinded to the things that were wrong in the relationship. As time goes on, you're naturally going to have a more clear mind, and you'll be able to see if you really do want them back or not. But some relationships really do have a lot of value and should be saved. So this is going to be how we can save those, but it's a good starting place for everyone. No contact. So you've probably seen this on YouTube or from my videos. This is the best way to get someone back. And today we're going to go over why. What it means, in my definition, is that you don't reach out to them. So a lot of people say that you should ignore them if they text you. I don't think that at all. I think a basic definition is if they ask for space, they broke up with you, the ball's in their court. So the most respectful and the most mature thing you can do is to not contact them, to leave them alone, let them have the consequences of the decision they made so that they can miss you and actually feel what it's like to be alive and live life without you in it. So we're going to dive into the mind of your ex right now. We're going to go through what they're thinking after a breakup so that you can see and be convinced that this really is the best way to get them back. So for the next little bit, we're going to think about the situation from your ex's perspective. Back to the tribe example, this is a lot different from what you're experiencing. So they're not going to feel the same way you're feeling right now. From their point of view, they left the tribe and it was their choice. This person that left has 100% of the control. Okay? Nobody's leaving them. They feel like they're doing what they want to do. So the first thing they're going to feel in this case is relief. And when you first hear that they're relieved to be away from you, it hurts a ton. But it makes a ton of sense too. Okay? So breakups don't happen on a whim. Usually they're thinking about it in their head, battling with it in their mind if they're going to leave you or not, for weeks or months. So when they finally do it, they don't feel relieved because you're gone really, but because they did something that was really hard, that's been bugging them for months and weeks. Okay? So the best example that I like is cliff jumping. I like to cliff jump a ton. There's a lot of cliff jumping here in Utah, and it's just a really, really fun thing to do. And when you're up at the top, it feels horrible. Okay? Especially if it's bigger than you've ever done. So you sit up there and you think about it and you think about it and you think about it. When you finally do it, when you jump off, let's get the legs off of there too. When you jump off and you land down in the water down here, you feel amazing. You feel relieved because you did something that was really hard. Okay? So what your ex is going to be doing during this time is they're going to be partying. They're going to be having a lot of fun. They're going to be posting on social media that they're having the best time of their lives. But remember, it has nothing to do with you. Okay? It's because they did something that was really, really hard. Now back to no contact. If you are going to contact them at this point, because you think you can win them back if you go over to their house, or you write them a big long letter, or you fly to their house if they're really far away. If you do any of those big gestures, it's like you're taking them out of this relieved state that they're in and putting them back up there in the uncomfortable state. They're not going to want to do that. Okay? So if you contact them, which you probably have already done and you've probably seen this, but if you keep contacting them, they'll start off nice, but eventually they're going to get cold, and then after that, they're going to get mean and hateful, which you don't want to see. That will hurt so much more than just not hearing from them. So this stage usually lasts like a week to a couple months based on how long the relationship is, why it ended, and what you did. Because if you are this guy, if you're taking them and putting them back in the uncomfortable situation, you're trying to force them and manipulate them into being back with you, they're going to try their hardest to stay relieved as long as they can. So if you want this pain to end, then you need to leave them be and let them be relieved for a while. Again, it usually lasts a week to a couple months. So if you're respectful of that and you do give them that week or a couple months, they're gonna get a little bit curious, and that's the next stage. Now the reason is, subconsciously in their head, if they left you, they assume that they're more attractive or better than you in some way. That's just kind of the natural psychology of what happens when you dump someone. You did it because there's something better for you out there. Now, the natural role of you, the person who got dumped, is to reach out to them. Because again, a less attractive person is supposed to chase the more attractive person. So if you're not doing that, then they're going to be kind of confused and they'll get curious. Now, this manifests in them watching your stories on Instagram, okay? Or things like that, asking your family members or your friends how you're doing if you're dating anyone. They're going to start to snoop around a little bit. You don't want to contact them again here. If you do, they have no more mystery, no more curiosity, and they'll just go back into relief. So you need to stay strong at this point, but look for those signs to keep yourself motivated to continue. So if they're curious for a while and they're not getting the information they want, they're going to transition into being concerned. And this is where the control shifts more into your court. Okay? So this whole time, they had every decision. They had no anxiety. You had all the anxiety. At this point, it starts to switch over. They start to feel a little bit more like you've been feeling, which is what eventually drives them to reach out. But this word is the most important. Everything you do on social media, everything they see and hear should be pointed at this word, that they might be able to get you back, okay? So if you're just going out to lots of clubs and you're posting pictures of other guys or other girls to make them jealous, this word's not gonna be there. They're gonna feel like, I can't get them back, they're with all these other people, so I'm not even gonna try. And that's not what you want. So you wanna post that you're happy, that you're with your family and your friends, and that way they still have hope, but you haven't reached out yet. You haven't done your natural role of chasing after them when they left you. So they're also not sure if they can get you back. So they're stuck at this might, but it eventually drives them to reach out in most cases. When they do eventually reach out, it's gonna be something like this, okay? So again, they're gonna be afraid that you might reject them. So they're not just gonna come out in most cases and say, I miss you, let's get back together. They're gonna test the waters a little bit. You need to stay open to it, but reserved, and keep your interest level below theirs. Now what that means is that if they're texting you and asking all the questions, make sure you don't ask more questions than them. Make sure that they are the ones leading the conversation. And if it starts to fizzle out, let it fizzle. Let them keep coming to you. But this is how they usually do it. So, how are you? How's your day? Or they ask something that they can easily get the answer from Google or anyone else. Like, do you know any fun things to do in Denmark? Like maybe you went on vacation there one time, but they could Google it. They're doing these kind of things because they want to test the waters and see if they can repair it with you. Because a part of them wants to. So that's what we're shooting for with no contact. That's why it's worth it. It hurts. It's super, super hard because you feel like you're doing nothing. You feel like you have no control. But it naturally pushes them through those stages, and that's your best bet. Okay? So we're going to talk about now what you can do while you're waiting, Because again, that waiting and that time is part of the experience. It's one of the main ingredients is time. Because they need time to go through that process and go through those stages. And if you do nothing, if you just sit there and then they reach out and you're the same person, the relationship's gonna end the same way. So you need to use this time, those brain chemicals and that motivation to change. So one of the beginning steps that I recommend to pretty much everyone is learning about attachment styles. So we're gonna go over a basic overview of them right now. And if one of these sounds like you, then you should do a deep dive into that. So all of attachment theory started with an experiment in the 1970s by a scientist named Mary Ainsworth called the Strange Situation Experiment. Now in this experiment, they put a baby, their mom, and a researcher in a room with a lot of toys. They played for a little bit and then they had the mom leave and they tracked how the baby reacted. And it was really interesting because the babies reacted in 3 consistent ways. The first group of babies were what's called secure. When the mom left, they cried, they were sad. But after a second, they soothed themselves. They started playing with the toys again. They kind of got back to what they were doing. And then when the mom came back, they were extremely happy. When they saw her, they gave her a hug, and then they went back to playing with their toys like nothing happened. They trusted their mom. The second group of babies was a little more interesting. They're called the anxiously attached babies. And that's what I think I had and had to work through. But they cried, same as the secure, when the mom left. But they didn't soothe themselves. They didn't start playing with the toys again. They were just completely sad until the mom came back. But they reacted differently then too. They weren't happy when she came back. They were angry at her for leaving. Now the last group of babies I think is the most interesting. They're called the avoidant babies. And when the mom left, they didn't react. They just kept doing their same thing. When she came back, they didn't react either. Those are the avoidant babies. Now the reason that study is meaningful for you, because you're not a baby anymore, is because all of these things stick with us throughout our entire lives. And most importantly, this is how we attach to our significant others. This is how we act in romantic relationships. So as adults, a secure person is going to be able to be in relationships long term. They're comfortable with intimacy. Whether someone's getting too close or if they're kind of distancing themselves, they have confidence in their partner. They don't pick little fights, and they're okay. They have long-lasting relationships. This is where we all want to be. Anxious people, kind of like the babies, are always afraid that their partner is going to leave. They'll be nitpicky. They'll look for little tiny flaws, little tiny things that can cause the relationship to end, and they'll focus on that, which oftentimes starts fights. Makes the other partner feel pressured and can end relationships, which is what happened to me in both of mine, okay? These people are also not very comfortable outside of relationships. So if you find yourself continually bouncing from relationship to relationship, that could be why. And learning how to be alone is a valuable way and a valuable path to move into security. And the last one, avoidant people, they're the ones who are the most common in the dating pool. So if you do end up being one of those who doesn't get their ex back and you go back to dating, it's good to know about these people because you're gonna date some of them. Those kind of people aren't comfortable with intimacy. When you get too close, they push you away and they often just leave the relationship because they start to feel smothered, okay? So these develop in early childhood. If your parents consistently met your needs, most of the time, they fed you, they gave you attention, everything you thought you needed when you were a little kid, before the age of 3 usually, you become secure. If your parents had to do other things, that they were busy some of the time but really tried hard other times, so they were inconsistent in meeting your needs, you developed anxiously. And if someone deeply hurt you when you were young, you completely trusted them and you got completely let down, you develop a hard shell, and that's what avoidants are. That they're afraid of being let down again in their romantic relationships, so if anyone gets too close and might break that shell, they don't let them in, they run away. The amazing thing is that even though they were developed in childhood and you've had it your whole life, these different attachment styles, they're plastic, which means that if you actually work through it, if you go to therapy, or if you read, which this, by the way, is my favorite resource on it. It's a book called Attached. It goes through how to become more secure. If you do work like that, you can move into security, whether you're anxious or avoidant. And that is what I think you should focus on now. Okay? So you're feeling extremely anxious, you're feeling really hurt. This motivation to move into someone who can deal better with anyone in relationships, use that motivation to become that kind of person. Okay, again, you can do this book. Also, if you want to sign up for my email newsletter, once a week I send out an email on how to move more into security, things that have worked for me. Because again, I started out kind of anxious after my last breakup, and I've done some things to move past that and to become more secure. I don't feel like I'm perfect right now, but I do feel like I'm a lot better, and I enjoy being alone, which used to be very hard for me. But while you're here, I do want to share one thing that you can do today that's going to help you, whether you're avoidant or anxious, move into more security. And I wanted to share this one in this video, in this course, because it's general and it'll apply to all of you. So either way, if you are anxious or if you're avoidant, it all boils down to a fear of abandonment. Okay? So it's just different ways of dealing with it. Both people are afraid that they're going to get left. So avoidant people don't let anyone in. They don't let anyone leave them because no one gets close enough to hurt them. Anxious people, they hold on tight and say, you're not allowed to leave me. And if there's all these things we got to figure out first, we're going to just go through them all now in your face, and you're going to feel pressured so that you don't leave me. So both of them, if you fix that fear of abandonment, if you can convince yourself that you're not worth abandoning, then you're going to be more secure. So this is what's worked for me. Affirmations, okay? So basically what an affirmation is it's just something that you repeat every day that changes how you think about yourself. But it has to do with the science and psychology of the subconscious mind. In your subconscious, you have what's called your self-image. And that self-image is just made up of everything you hear about yourself, everything you think, everything you say, and everything that other people say about you. And it takes all those pieces of information and puts them into one whole, and that's who you are. And you act with everyone based on that foundation. So if you believe that you're attractive, then you're going to live like that. But if you've had like lots of thoughts that saying you're not attractive, you're not smart, then you're going to believe you're that way. And you're not going to be. Okay? The cool thing about this is that you can hack it. You see, your subconscious, it doesn't put different value on what it hears or what you say or what you think. They're all just one-on-one pieces of information. So if you overload the positive thoughts, then you're going to change the whole thing into positivity. So it's not just positive thinking. It's actually science of convincing yourself that you are not worth abandoning. And if you can convince yourself, then you're not going to be abandoned because you'll act like someone who doesn't get abandoned. Okay? So what I do and what I recommend you start doing today, especially if you just got broken up with, because that's a giant sign to your subconscious that you are worth abandoning, that you have to overcome. Okay? But you can do it. So what I recommend doing is get those 3x5 note cards and then write down things like, this is what I did. I am the star of my own movie. I am worthy of love and belonging. It is natural for me to be loved. I am 100% complete and whole on my own right now. I am not worth abandoning. Okay? So write those down on those note cards, or write them down on your phone, or make it your screensaver. Just something that you can look at. I recommend 3 to 5 times a day. Repeat those to yourself. Eventually you'll have them memorized. And the cool thing is you eventually just have them running in the back of your head. Like, you know how you have thoughts that are just always going in your head? For me, those became the thoughts that were in my head. You are worthy of love and belonging. You are 100% complete right now. And it feels really good to just on autopilot be complimenting yourself like that. And when you do that, you really do start to believe those things about yourself, and that changes everything. So what else can you do while you're waiting, while you're becoming better during this time of no contact? You already know these things, but I'm just going to reiterate them here. Go to the gym. it makes you look better, which raises your chances of getting them back or someone else that's better. It makes you feel better, it releases dopamine and endorphins that actually like make your brain feel happy. So that's worth it. New friends or old friends. Make your life as enjoyable as possible by strengthening those relationships. For me, when my girlfriend left, I didn't have any friends because I focused all of my attention on her. Okay, so when she was gone, I had nothing left. So I had to go and I had to build all these new friendships. And when I did, as I built more of those relationships in my life, I felt happier. And I felt like that hole was being filled by other people. That's what can happen for you too. Next thing, travel. I'm going to Iceland in a week. And it's amazing what you can do. Not everyone has the funds, but if you just travel like around your neighborhood, just experiencing new things will help you move through the grief process. Don't let all of your good memories be with that person. Make new ones. Hobbies, passions. That's one of the most attractive things you can do. If you post on your story that you're out doing something like fishing or something that brings you joy, it's going to be more attractive to them to want to come back. It shows that you're not just sitting there thinking about them and crying, but that you're out enjoying your life. Because you're a lot more attractive if you are enjoying your life. People want to be in a life that's already fun. Okay? So that's the goal of all of these. You already know these things, but that's why you're doing them. You're doing them to become a better person and enjoy your own life on your own, because that's when you can bring someone else into it, either back into it or a new person, and they're actually going to enjoy being in it, okay? Now I have one more clip for you before we close on this, and I recommend that you go back and you watch this a couple times. Take notes, because it's a lot of things we've gone through with what they're thinking after, what your mindset should be, what attachment styles are, the science behind all of it. So I think it's worth kind of going through a couple times so you actually get all of it, okay? The last thing I wanted to share is when you do feel sad, a lot of the things that we talked about a second ago may feel like distractions, and I think that's good to distract yourself sometimes. It's good to go to the gym if you feel horrible, but it is also really valuable to actually feel your emotions too. Emotions work by kind of being signals that something's wrong and there's something you have to get through. It's kind of like when you have when you touch a hot pan and it feels like pain, you need to get your hand away. That's the signal that you need to do that. So when you are feeling sad and you don't want to distract yourself, it's good to sit in it. It's good to sit there and feel what it feels like. Say, I'm feeling sad. And then just wait. And just wait until it goes away. Cry. Listen to sad music. The more you do that, the faster the process is going to be. And also, the lower your anxiety level is going to be, so that you can see clearly if you actually do want them back. Because again, like I said at the beginning, some relationships are meant to get back and some aren't. Right when a breakup happens, it feels like every relationship is supposed to get back together, but some really aren't. And as you do this, as you sit in your emotions, as you truly feel through the situation, which it's going to come in waves, you'll feel fine for a little bit, and then you'll hear a song that you used to listen to with them and you'll cry. Or you'll see a place, or you'll eat food, or you'll see a movie and you'll cry. And that's completely normal. Your brain has to get through all of those steps before you can be fine being on your own, but you'll get there. So I'm including with this video a simple test to try and see, like a self-assessment to see what kind of attachment style you have, so you can get resources on it and figure out how you can move more into security. So I recommend that you do that as soon as you can, okay? If you need any personal help with your situation, because even though these are the general things that people go through, every situation is specific. I do coaching calls and also emails on my website. Same place you got this course. So if you want to do that, go for it. I'd love to meet you guys and I'd love to help. But for now, assume that you're going to have another chance. Most people do. I know you feel like your ex is the special one that's not going to reach out, but every single person tells me that, and it's on reach out, okay? Assume you're going to do it, and that should be your motivation to get better. Over time it can change, but let that work right now, because a lot of you will have them reach out, and if you don't apply these things we learned today, you're not going to be ready. You're going to lose it, and it's going to hurt twice as bad. Okay? So these things are valuable and they're true. Thank you guys so much for watching this, and I'm really glad that we built this community and that you guys can be part of it. But again, call me if you need any help, and I hope that you have a great day.